Hello, and thank you for watching Accelerate with Nerdio. In today's lesson, we're going to walk through some of the custom host pool properties that you can set through Nerdio Manager for MSP. Let's go ahead and dive right in, and the options we're going to talk about today are going to be setting Active Directory options, setting up WVD specific options, VM deployment options, custom RDP settings, FSLogix, and session time limits. So what does this look like in Nerdio Manager for MSP? Well, let's take a look. We've got our host pools here, and if we go to the drop-down, we go to Properties, we'll see those subcategories we just discussed. So let's walk through each of these. First, Active Directory, right? So when you have auto scale or you're manually adding a host, it's going to likely join the domain that you've created, right? Your Active Directory domain. So this is where you can specify the domain that pool is going to create machines and join them under, the username, the password, and the OU that's going to apply. So, you could have multiple AD configurations to choose from, multiple domains. It just depends on your configuration. Just know that you can set that per pool. The next one we'll look at here is WVD. So this one's pretty simple, right? You can set things like friendly name, description, and also the load balancing, depending on how you've configured that pool. There's also this validation environment, which actually allows you to receive service updates faster, so you can kind of test them before they're pushed to production. So only select this if you're really comfortable with that option. Next, let's take a look at VM deployment. So this is where you can set things like custom time zone within the pool, redirection of time zone, accelerated networking, GPU rights, so some really specific deployment options. The next one we'll look at is custom RDP. Very important, right? This is where you can set things like redirect, screen mode, multimedia streaming, right? So some really important settings here. You want to make sure you understand what these will do before you apply them. And again, these are all Microsoft settings. There's a KB out there that you can dig in. If you have questions about these specifically or how to configure them manually, you're going to want to look into Microsoft's documentation. Next, we have FSLogix. So this is really important. If this is on, what it's telling us is that you don't have the FSLogix agent running on the template. So we're going to actually install it, and then we're going to specify these registry and path options. So if you're manually configuring FSLogix via your template, this should be off. If you're going to have Nerdio Manager for MSP manage those settings, this should be on, and then you'll want to configure those settings. Again, this will only apply to new hosts as they're created. So when we think about these settings that we're touching on, we want to make sure that we remove and re-update any new hosts in the pool after we make changes. And then finally, let's take a look at session time limits. So, really important, this can allow you to configure specific session limits, right? So, really great if you've got sessions that stay disconnected or idle for a long time and you want something to occur based on those time limits. So again, these are within WVD host pools, and they're specific to the host pools themselves, so you can have some different configurations across different pools depending on what you need. And I absolutely recommend diving in here and checking these out. Again, let's go ahead and look at what we talked about. So Active Directory host pool properties, the ability to determine what directory you're joining. WVD specific settings, these are going to be things like load balancing, VM deployment options. Again, we're going to have things like time zone, other things like that. Custom RDP settings, FSLogix, time limits, all super important things to configure those hosts. So definitely check out help.nerdio.net for access to all of our information, articles, videos, and enjoy your time with Nerdio Manager for MSP. Thank you very much.